Black men tried to warn us.
78% of black husbands were in their homes, married to the mother of their children, when they started the social engineering of the welfare state. Fast forward 50 years, 78% of black children are being raised in single-headed households. This is destruction.
Black men tried to warn us. Black men tried to warn all of us what would happen if this spread from their community to the rest of society. Black men were the first ones to experience the effects of public assistance and how it took men out of their communities and resulted in the destruction of that community. Keep on watching to the end of the video to find out how Black men tried to warn us and what the implications are for public assistance and potentially something like the universal basic income or universal high income on society, especially as more men walk away. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
Fathers are often driven away so that mother and children can eat.
85% of the head of household is a woman, because most of the men who should be in the household, they cannot make a decent living. And of course it is better to know that a child will be fed 12 months out of the year than 3 months, which you do in the summer when construction work you can make a decent living.
The man in the house rule was written to prevent welfare cheating, to make sure that aid to families with dependent children would go only to families headed by mothers. But the effect of the man in the house rule is to create for children an atmosphere of investigation and surveillance, and thus the welfare system in its operation turns out to be a system to make life harder for children.
The welfare system helps the disintegration of the American family. It offers money to families if the fathers will leave them and stay away, in that sense undoing the very stability of the family and taking away one of the two parents that children, of course, need. And what I have seen, I'm afraid to say, all over the country is that the legal system works against the best kind of home for these children. We don't encourage parents to be at home with the children. We don't encourage mothers to feel that they can find their destiny as mothers. We take away, in many of the most vulnerable homes, fathers from those homes. We herd foster children together in institutions rather than trying to find decent homes for them. We don't tap the resources we have in communities and with respect to older people so that they can help out vulnerable homes. We don't sanction and encourage and support in every way, morally, psychologically, and financially, the dignity and integrity of the home. And in the worst of it is that the homes that are most vulnerable are the homes that are least supported by the policies of local, state, and federal governments. And no wonder then, out of these more vulnerable neighborhoods, we get an endless cycle of troubled, delinquent, wayward youth who grow up even more and become the lawbreakers of our society. Now, I don't know how you break this cycle except by starting out with young children.
Now, guys, think about this. That video is from 1973, and they illustrate that 85% of homes in the Black community were headed by Black women. Black women were the heads of households of 85% of homes in 1973. 1973, y'all. So that was 51 years ago. Within a few short years, within less than 10 years of public assistance being introduced into the Black community, 85% of Black households were already headed by African-American women, and the men were already out of the house. Those are insane statistics. People have to really wake up and say, how the heck is that even possible? And you wonder how our society got like this today, how we ended up in this situation. The truth of the matter is that Black men tried to warn us. They tried to tell us that, hey, this was happening. But a lot of us were not ready to listen yet. We were not ready to listen to that reality. We were not ready for that because they were the ones who went through this. Honestly, I never knew these things. I did not know a lot about the black community. I did not know a lot about what these men went through and everything that these men actually lost. It's easy to turn on the television and say, well, it's pattern recognition and it's this group of people that are responsible for these things. But the reality is that it's not that simple. These men were put out of their communities. These men are still being put out of their communities today. And what ultimately ended up happening is that the program was so successful that it expanded. It expanded, and now we can see with Gen Alpha, Gen Z, and now especially Gen Alpha, where Gen Alpha, most of these children have been born and raised in fatherless homes, regardless of ethnicity. And these children are extremely unruly. A child learns how to control his emotions from his father. That's the thing. Children learn how to control their emotions from their fathers. And without those fathers in the home, you have children who are extremely angry, frustrated, fussy. They don't feel secure. They lack confidence. And then you have to think about the kinds of men that women bring into these communities. A lot of women in the black community, they don't want Michael from IT. They don't want the African American guy that works in information technology. They want Jamal that's trying to get his mixtape out there. It's the truth. Of all ethnicities of women, black women are the least likely to marry outside of their race, outside of their ethnicity. But the kinds of men that they are looking for are all the same guys. And then after they have these relationships with these guys, then they want a guy, the plan B guy, to come in and rescue them because they deserve that because they're queens.
Age?
25.
Are you single?
I am single.
How easy is it to get a man to commit to you?
Pretty easy if I like him enough.
Walk me through.
She has criteria.
Big, black, bald, bearded. That's my criteria.
But hold on. What's the difference between a big bald black man and a big bald white man or a big bald Indian man?
One's white, one's black. That's the difference.
You don't think that's like superficial? You're just looking at the characteristics like that?
I can be superficial. I think when I'm living and dating to plan a future with somebody, I get to be superficial. I get to be picky.
So why limit yourself?
I just always saw myself dating a black man, so that's what I want. I want my kids to be black.
Was your ex big, bald, black, and bearded?
Woody was white. Woody was white. Woody was white. Which is when I realized I don't like white men. I don't want to date white men. There's too many logistics conversations that have to be had.
I want to tell you guys that when she's saying these things, she's not being completely straightforward. Not only is she saying that she doesn't want to date men of a certain ethnicity, she doesn't want to date men of a certain culture. Okay? If you have a black man who is well put together, if you have a black man that has his bachelor's or bachelor's degree or master's or PhD, if you have a black man who does not speak using broken English, you have a black man that comes from a good family, that guy is too corny for her. She would never consider a guy like Alfonso Ribeiro, even if he was tall, even if he was 6 feet tall, even if he had a bald head and a goatee. It wouldn't matter. She would never. Guys, I'll give you a good example. Wayne Brady, he's about like 6 feet tall. He has a beard right now, doing his fit. She would never want someone like that. Why? Oh, he's too nice. He's too corny. No. The kinds of men that they want, and that's the thing, they will break the rules for these guys, are the little Ponchos, are the Tyrones, are the Pookies, are the Ray Rays, are the Sanchos. These are the types of men that they love. These are the types of men that they bring into their homes. Okay? They want the types of men that were raised in public housing.
Assistance where I receive cash every 2 weeks and food stamps every month, you heard? I'm on public assistance where I can walk in any New York deli and order whatever hot food I want. Let me get 3 chopped cheese and 2 bacon and cheese today, bro. I'm on public assistance, so if I fall behind on my rent, not a big deal. I get a one-shot deal from the government. I'm on public assistance where if I have to pay for my fare, I have the option to go half price on them.
Man, 290.
I'm on public assistance where if I need some extra cash, I just go to my local Ock and just change some. Yo, Ock, you can do 100 today, bro?
Yeah, I got you.
I wait right here, bro. Appreciate you. I'm on public assistance, so when it's time to withdraw my cash, I come to Chase to avoid the ATM fee. I'm on public assistance, so when times get hard, we just have some more kids just to up our income, you heard?
These are the types of men that women are in love with. All right, the rappers, the gangsters, the our professional athletes. All right, and even among the professional athletes, they want a dude they want a thug. They want a thug. Like, while a lot of women are like, "Oh, I want LeBron James." LeBron James is a Plan A guy. He's not the man that they love. All right, he is nothing more than status for them, money and status. Okay. And the crazy thing is that they would still end up going back to Tyrone on him, going back to Ray Ray, Pookie, Enrique, Little Pancho, or Sancho, because they're family. So, they both can lay the pipe down. They take turns. They're plumbers. These are the dudes that they love. This is the reality of it. And a lot of women in this community, they're proud of this. They think it's okay.
When I check my public assistance, my shit had like 3 bands on there. 3 bands that I could do whatever I want. And they paid my rent. And they gave me food. What happened? Don't be mad. Don't be mad. I'm on public assistance, so what? Tell me why y'all mad though.
Have left home in order for their children to get meat and bread. There are so many dehumanizing elements in the welfare system that we are concerned about removing. Ultimately, we are concerned about a guaranteed annual income. And the other thing I think it is very necessary to say is that everybody's on welfare in this country. And when it comes to black people and poor people, we just call it something else. When it's for white people and rich, we call it subsidies.
It's no secret, fatherless households are more common in the black community. A survey from the American Consensus Institution revealed that 67% of black children under 18 in the US live in homes without fathers. This is a stark contrast to white children, as only 24% of them live in fatherless homes. But it wasn't always like that. The black families survived generations of open racism, widespread poverty, and slavery. They lived through segregation and violence, and strong family bonds used to be the norm.
As of 1960, 2/3 of all black American children were living with both parents. That declined over the years until only 1/3 were living with both parents in 1995. So it's not the legacy of slavery that destroys the African American family.
It's the legacy of the welfare state.
Between 1890 and 1950, the marriage rate was much higher among black women than white women. A fraction of black children lived in homes without their fathers. But everything changed with the expansion of the welfare state. It divided the household and created a dependency on welfare. This kind of reminds me of what President Reagan said.
I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
So, what happened? What's the mechanism? Here is a detailed look at how the welfare state played a role in the dissolving of the family structure over the years. People say that the breakdown of traditional family units, family structures, is a byproduct of black poverty, not just because there is no man to support the family financially, but also because women tend to earn less than men on average. Of course, the connection between the two is there, but it goes deeper than that. Welfare was a mean little business. It was designed to get people by in a pinch. Public assistance programs, like welfare entitlements, have been a part of American culture since the 1940s. Unfortunately, like in many other aspects of government institutions, black Americans were left out. In time, black people could also get financial support, but it wasn't easy. Mothers who applied for checks had to let social workers inspect their homes to see if their conditions were suitable for welfare. These workers also had to make sure no man was living in the house. But even if they qualified for support, the amount they received was meager and not enough to build a stable life. In the early 1960s, welfare was not yet common, even in the most impoverished black communities. In the decade that followed, the number of black people on welfare went up by 169%. They further increased by 30% from 1970 to 1975. In 1972, New York City, almost 1 out of every 6 residents was on welfare. A major portion of these households were black. Although black people were only around 1/10 of all Americans, they made up almost 50% of all welfare recipients by the late 70s. A recent UNICEF report showed that many children under 18 in America struggle financially, and African American children are nearly 4 times more likely to be in poverty than white children. Though the number of families receiving cash assistance has decreased since 1996, child poverty rates for black children in the US remain high. This outcome is not by accident. I studied the evolution of social welfare policies in the US from the New Deal to the 1996 reforms and found that these policies have been discriminatory from the start. And a lot of people can confess to that. This led many black families to fall into cultural and economic ruin. In a short period, healthy black people started relying on government assistance to achieve some level of normalcy. But within the city slums, that normalcy was impossible to get. Black children barely knew their fathers, and most were raised by unemployed and unmarried mothers.
I mean, guys, think about what they said there. You know, before public assistance became normalized and expanded in the black community, offering to cover and subsidize all of the living expenses for women in the community, in those communities, you know, black women had higher rates of marriage than white women in the United States. And then all of that went out the window. If you look at how black men used to dress, it's interesting. This is a picture of how black men dressed back in the 1960s. Guys, this is the 1960s. Think about that. That's how they dressed in the 1960s. My gosh. You know, both men and women looked different back then. Here's another picture. These are black men in the night. These are typical vintage photos. These are just typical black guys in the 1960s. All right? Shirts and ties. That was standard wear. Okay? And women also looked different back then. This is how black women used to dress back in the 1960s. These are black women in the 1960s, y'all. 1960s. Completely a stark difference. A completely stark difference from modern day society. I mean, it's unbelievable. Here's another photo of black women in the 1960s. Look how different people looked back then. All right? Absolutely beautiful women. Absolutely gorgeous. And this is the difference. And if you look at modern day society, it's like, it's night and day. This is what happened. And black men tried to warn us. They tried to warn us, but we didn't want to listen because we had no idea that this could happen to our communities. This could happen to us. Okay? Because once public assistance pops up, women start saying that they're independent. Look at what happened. All of these women now in the 90s, early 2000s started, once social media became a thing, women started putting in their profiles, I'm independent, I'm Miss Independent. All of that started back in the 60s and expanded in the 70s. Miss Independent. That was the term that they began using back then. You are independent. You don't need a man. You don't even need your family. Like when women put independent in their bios, what they were saying really is that, no, I don't need a man. I don't even need my family. I'm independent. I can take care of myself. But women were never designed to live without a husband. Women were not designed to be without a husband. And now we're seeing the absolute consequences of that and of how that has affected these communities and led to destruction within these communities and chaos within these communities. And women, look at the kinds of men that women choose. They choose the little ponchos, okay? They choose Pancho. They choose Panchito. They choose Sancho. These are the men that they love, okay? And then when everything goes downhill, then they want to go and get a plan B guy, a guy with a good job, that they called a nerd, a Michael B. Jordan, who is among the top 1% of men in the world. Top 1% of men in the world. And he's just the guy that they bring in to build their lives off, but they don't love him. He needs to have a six-pack. He needs to be at least 6 feet tall. He needs to make above six figures. And that's not even the guy that they love. That's just the guy that they want as a status symbol, as an ATM. Attention, time, money. And you cannot explain this to them because, they will use sign language, shame, insults, and guilt because they need to be right. You will never win an argument because they argue with their feelings. They rationalize with their feelings. not facts. The only time that they apply facts is when things have gone downhill and they have nowhere else to turn to, and they have to basically say, my feelings betrayed me. Everything is destroyed. Oh well, I'm still gonna try to find a man to clean it up for me. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You can see the video I showed you where this woman, she basically made it very clear that she doesn't want just any man. He needs to be sick. He needs to be tall, dark, handsome, tall, black, bald. But her previous boyfriend was white, and after dating him, she's like, "No, I'm not dating. It's because of dating a white guy why I specifically only want these types of these black men with these characteristics." In other words, she was dating a good man. All right, she was dating a good man, and because he was too boring, she was like, "Never again, never again. I'm gonna date the guy that makes me excited." Look at what happened with Tia Mari. All right, look at what she did. She was married to this dude. His name was Corey something. This guy is a famous actor. He's a famous actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. I checked out his Wikipedia. This bro has been in a lot of stuff. Dude looks in his 30s. Could pass for his early 30s. Dude is tall. He's handsome. He's wealthy. He's famous. He was an incredible father, she says. He was a great father, a great husband. But she got bored in her marriage. And now she's posting all kinds of pictures on Instagram that are not good, with her children as props in the photos. And she's basically, going into the second phase of her life. Like, this is crazy. All the while she's like breaking down into tears, because it's hard out there. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I told y'all, it doesn't matter who they are, but within all of them, there is the streets. And the streets calls out to them. The streets call out to them. And if it's something that, if a woman is not raised to be a wife and to be a mother, then she will embrace her masculinity. And she will basically feel that she cannot remain happy in a relationship with just one guy. A lot of these married women, they're in relationships, but they have a roster of dudes in their phones. And they're always messaging these dudes. They're always communicating with these dudes. Because that guy that she married is just giving her stability. And now she can basically pick and choose from whoever she wants. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. They are planning their divorce before they plan their wedding. It's a sad reality, but it's a reality. And black men tried to warn us of this. They tried to warn us of these implications within society. But we didn't want to listen. We were not ready to listen. But now we're seeing what those implications are. You look at Gen Alpha, where so many of them cannot read, they cannot write. They are coming out of fatherless homes. And I've said this before, that's a signal that you're going to have a group of young people who will unfortunately be a part of a large prison population, because what are the indicators of people ending up in prison? 80% of young men and 80% of men who are in prison came from fatherless homes. 80%. Now, and then what is another huge indicator? Illiteracy. So now you have men who came from fatherless homes and they have high rates of illiteracy. That's a massive indicator that you're going to have a lot of young men who are going to unfortunately end up incarcerated. And there we have our answer. Black men tried to warn us, but we were not ready to listen. The effects of public assistance led to the dissolution of the Black community and great disparities that continue to follow the community to this day. And what ultimately ended up happening is that the program was so successful that it expanded to all other communities. And now we're seeing the consequences of this with Gen Z, and Gen Alpha is just going to be off the charts. I've said this already, that many Gen Alphas will never work a normal job in their lives. Those are the effects of public assistance. This is what Black men tried to warn us about, that they will put you out. You will be put out of your home. And public assistance, it only led to more things like, women divorcing their husbands so that they can turn to the state, and, child support became a massive thing. Okay? Child support, alimony, all of these things, they spun off from public assistance. And the state reallocating wealth and resources from men to the state and women helping them to do so and being rewarded for doing so. What do you guys think regarding this? Because I think it's absolutely insane, but that's the reality. And if you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing to our newsletter for my personal thoughts, insights, and a free copy of my ebook, The Blueprint for Escaping the Rat Race. Click the link in the description to get your free copy of the ebook and subscribe to the newsletter. What do you guys think regarding all of this? Black men tried to warn us. Let us know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll talk about it there. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA men walking away. And cheers.